My name is Kristen, and at 31, I never expected my successful accounting career to feel like a curse. For 7 years, I financially supported my family through their supposed hardships. Every month, thousands of dollars moved from my account to theirs. Then came the cold text message. We need space from you. Please do not reach out anymore at all. My heart shattered into pieces. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you've ever felt used by the people who should love you most. I graduated from college with an accounting degree and student loan debt that felt like a mountain on my shoulders. Still, I was proud to be the first in my family to earn a bachelor's degree. I landed an entry-level position at a small accounting firm in Portland. The starting salary was modest, but it was mine, earned through years of late-night studying and weekend jobs throughout college. Back then, my relationship with my family was what most would call normal, maybe even close. My mom, Elaine, worked as a receptionist at a dental office. My dad, Thomas, had a steady job as a warehouse manager for a furniture company. My younger sister, Haley, was still in high school, dreaming of becoming a nurse someday. And then there was my uncle, Larry, my dad's brother, who had always been my biggest cheerleader. He never missed a graduation, piano recital, or important moment in my life. We gathered for Sunday dinners whenever possible, sharing stories and laughter around the dining table that had been in our family for generations. Those were simple, happy times before I became the family bank. 7 years ago, everything changed. I was just settling into my apartment, enjoying the independence that came with my first real paycheck, when my phone rang. It was Mom, her voice shaking with tears. "Kristen, honey, I hate to ask this of you, but we are in serious trouble," she said between sobs. "Your father lost his job, the company is downsizing, and the timing couldn't be worse." She explained that she had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, forcing her to reduce her working hours. Their savings were depleted after paying for her medical tests. The rent was due in 3 days, and they were $800 short. "We have nowhere else to turn," Mom whispered. "It's just until your father finds another job. We'll pay you back as soon as we can." Without hesitation, I transferred the money. $800 was a significant chunk of my monthly budget, but they were family. Of course I would help. Dad would find another job soon, and this would be a one-time thing. But it wasn't. 2 weeks later, they needed help with the utility bills. Then it was groceries, then car insurance. Each request came with a heartfelt explanation and a promise of repayment as soon as things turned around. Each time, I said yes. What started as a temporary loan transformed into a monthly commitment. Dad would land interviews, but never the job. Mom's condition worsened, limiting her ability to work even part-time. Haley needed money for school supplies, then college application fees, then textbooks when she started community college. 3 months into this arrangement, I set up direct deposits. It seemed more efficient than responding to panic calls every few weeks, $500 on the first of the month, another $500 on the 15th. It strained my budget, but I made it work. I took on extra projects at the firm, worked weekends, and eventually earned a promotion. More money meant more I could give to my struggling family. Meanwhile, my own dreams took a backseat. The down payment fund for my first home grew at a snail's pace. The trip to Europe I had planned since college was indefinitely postponed. My retirement contributions stayed at the minimum required for the employer match, far below what my financial advisor recommended. Family comes first, I told myself whenever I felt a twinge of resentment. They would do the same for me. As months turned into years, the direct deposits increased along with my salary. By year 3, I was sending them $2,000 monthly, covering not just necessities, but also helping with Haley's tuition and the unexpected expenses that always seemed to arise. I created spreadsheets to track my contributions at first, planning to ensure they could pay me back someday. Eventually, I stopped updating them. Deep down, I knew I would never see that money again, and acknowledging that truth hurt too much. The gratitude from my family was effusive at first. Mom would call me in tears, blessing me for being such a wonderful daughter. Dad promised he would make it up to me once he got back on his feet. Haley sent handwritten thank you cards with drawings inside. Uncle Larry was the only one who seemed concerned about the arrangement. "Are you sure you can afford this, Kristen?" he asked during one of our coffee meetups. "It seems like you're carrying the entire family on your shoulders." "It's temporary," I assured him.
though by then it had already been 2 years. Besides, their family. What else am I supposed to do? Let them get evicted? He gave me a long look, but dropped the subject. In retrospect, I should have paid more attention to the worry in his eyes. Year 4 brought another promotion at work and a significant salary increase. I was now a senior accountant with a respectable income. Instead of finally prioritizing my own financial goals, I increased the family support to $2,500 monthly. By then, it had become automatic, expected. The thank you calls became thank you texts, then just acknowledgement receipts. Got it. Thanks. My social life suffered. Friends stopped inviting me to expensive restaurants or weekend aways because I always declined. My colleague Jordan asked me out, but our brief relationship ended when I couldn't explain why I was always working overtime, yet still seemed to struggle financially. I couldn't admit I was supporting my entire family. It felt both like bragging about being a good daughter and admitting I was being taken advantage of. By year 7, I had given my family well over $100,000. The weight of this responsibility had become so normal that I rarely questioned it anymore. I was 31 years old with a successful career on paper, but my bank account told a different story. This was my life now. Work, save a little, send the rest to family, repeat. Little did I know that everything was about to change. The shift in my family's attitude was so gradual, I almost missed it. Almost. It started with the phone calls. Where Mom once called several times a week to check in, our conversations dwindled to brief exchanges once every couple of weeks. When I called them, there was always a reason they couldn't talk long. Dad was just heading out the door. Mom wasn't feeling well and needed to rest. Haley was studying for a big exam. Our Sunday family dinners became monthly, then quarterly events. Each time I suggested visiting, there was an excuse. The house was being painted, Mom was having a bad pain day. They had prior commitments. I chalked it up to everyone being busy with their own lives. Dad was still job hunting, Mom was managing her health, Haley was focused on nursing school. It made sense they had less time for casual family gatherings. Until my 30th birthday. I had always made a big deal of everyone's birthdays. For Mom's 60th, I had flown in her sister from Arizona as a surprise. For Dad's birthday, I got tickets to see his favorite baseball team. For Haley's 21st, I planned an entire weekend celebration. So when my 30th birthday arrived, I expected at least a phone call, maybe a small gathering, perhaps a thoughtful card. I received nothing. No calls, no texts, no cards. The day passed with complete silence from my family. I checked my phone constantly, wondering if there was a technical issue. I even called my service provider to confirm my phone was working properly. It was working fine. My family had simply forgotten, or worse, they had remembered and decided not to acknowledge it. That evening, my work colleagues took me out for impromptu drinks after noticing my subdued mood. My friend Olivia brought a small cake to my apartment later. I blew out the candles alone after she left, wishing my family was just planning some belated surprise. They weren't. A week passed, then 2. No mention of my birthday, no belated wishes, nothing. When I finally brought it up during a brief call with Mom, her response was hurried. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Things have been so hectic here. We'll make it up to you next time you visit." But the invitation to visit never came. 3 months after my forgotten birthday, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw something that made my stomach drop. A photo of my parents and Haley smiling widely in front of Cinderella Castle at Disney World. The timestamp showed it was posted just 2 days earlier. I stared at the image, unable to process what I was seeing. My family, who I had been supporting financially because they couldn't afford rent, had somehow found the money for a Disney vacation. A vacation they hadn't mentioned to me once. With shaking hands, I called my mother. "Oh, Kristen," she sounded surprised to hear from me. "How are you, sweetheart?" "I'm fine," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just saw some interesting photos on Facebook. When were you going to tell me about Disney World?" A long pause followed. "It was a last-minute thing," she finally said. "Haley has been working so hard in nursing school, and your father and I thought she deserved a break. It was just a quick weekend trip." "A quick weekend trip to Florida from Oregon?" I asked. "That must have cost thousands of dollars."
"We found a good deal," Mom said quickly. "And your Uncle Larry helped out a bit, too." That didn't sound like Uncle Larry. He had always been careful with money and had expressed concerns about my family's dependence on my financial support. I see, I said, not believing her for a second. Well, I hope you all had fun. We did, honey. I'm sorry we didn't mention it. We didn't want you to feel like you needed to contribute to this too. You already do so much for us. The conversation ended awkwardly, with Mom promising to call me soon to catch up properly. That call never came. The following week, I met Olivia for coffee. After listening to me recount the Disney World discovery, she set down her cup with unusual firmness. Kristen, I've held my tongue for years because you always defend them, but this is ridiculous. Your family is taking advantage of you. They have been for years. That's not true, I protested weakly. They're going through hard times. For 7 years? Olivia raised an eyebrow. Nobody has hard times for 7 consecutive years without some serious mismanagement or deception involved. And now they're taking Disney vacations while you can't even afford to join that pottery class you've been talking about for months because you send them so much money. They would do the same for me if I needed it, I insisted. Would they, though? Olivia challenged. Have they ever supported you through anything, financially or otherwise? I opened my mouth to respond but had no examples to offer. Olivia softened her tone. I'm saying this because I care about you. This is not normal or healthy. At some point, you need to consider the possibility that they are using you. I dismissed her concerns outwardly, but couldn't stop thinking about her words in the days that followed. Then came the mall incident. I rarely splurged on shopping, but I needed a new outfit for an important presentation at work. While browsing through a department store, I spotted a familiar figure at the luxury handbag counter. Haley, my sister, who was supposedly struggling to afford nursing textbooks, was purchasing a designer purse I knew cost well over $1,000. I approached her, watching as she handed over a credit card to the sales associate with practiced ease. Haley. She spun around, her expression morphing from surprise to something like guilt. Kristen, what are you doing here? Shopping for work clothes, I said, eyeing the designer shopping bag now in her hand. That's a beautiful bag. Oh, this, she laughed nervously. It's just a knockoff. It's super cheap. I had worked as a retail associate during college. I knew the store didn't sell counterfeits, and I recognized the distinct packaging of the luxury brand. Really? From the designer section? Haley's cheeks flushed. I have to run. I'm meeting friends for lunch. I'll call you later, okay? She hurried away before I could respond, leaving me standing there with a growing sense of unease. Later that week, I drove past Haley's apartment complex and noticed a brand new car in her assigned parking spot. The temporary license plate indicated it had been purchased recently. The last time we spoke, she had complained about repair costs for her old sedan, hinting that she might need help with the mechanic's bill. The pieces were starting to form a disturbing picture, but I still couldn't quite accept what they were showing me. It was time to talk to the one person in my family who had always been straight with me. Uncle Larry agreed to meet me at our favorite diner the following Sunday. He was the only family member who consistently made time for me, calling regularly and meeting for lunch at least once a month. He arrived early, already nursing a cup of coffee when I slid into the booth across from him. You look troubled, kiddo, he said, studying my face. Everything okay at work? Work is fine, I replied, ordering coffee from the passing waitress. I wanted to talk to you about Mom, Dad, and Haley. Uncle Larry's expression changed subtly. He set down his mug and sighed. I was wondering when this conversation would happen. What conversation would happen? The one where you finally realized what's been going on? My stomach tightened. And what exactly has been going on, Uncle Larry? He looked pained, running a hand through his graying hair. Your family has been taking advantage of your generosity, Kristen, for years now. Mom said you helped pay for their Disney trip, I said, watching his reaction carefully. Larry's eyebrows shot up. Disney? I didn't pay for any Disney trip. I didn't even know they went to Disney. That's what I thought, I murmured. Listen, Kristen, there's something you need to know. Your dad has been working again for 3 years now. The world seemed to stop. What? He got a job as a shift supervisor at Johnson Manufacturing. Better pay than his old warehouse position. Benefits, too. That's impossible, I said, though even as the words left my mouth, I knew it was true. It explained so much. They would have told me.
they would have stopped asking for money. Larry shook his head sadly. They don't see it as asking anymore. They see your money as their entitlement. I've tried talking to Thomas about it, told him it wasn't right to keep taking from you when they're back on their feet. He got angry, said I didn't understand the pressures of raising a family. And Mom's health issues, her fibromyalgia is real, but it's managed well enough that she started working part-time at the church office 2 years ago. It's not much, but between that and your dad's job, they're doing fine financially. Better than fine, actually. I thought about the Disney trip, Haley's designer purse, her new car. They were living well on my money. Larry nodded grimly. Your parents renovated their kitchen last year. Granite countertops, new appliances, the works. Haley's been talking about a spring break trip to Cancun with her friends. Meanwhile, you're working yourself to exhaustion to fund their lifestyle. My coffee arrived, but I couldn't bring myself to drink it. My throat felt too tight. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Larry looked genuinely remorseful. I tried, in my way. Remember all those times I asked if you were sure you could afford to keep supporting them, but you always seemed so determined to help. And they're my family too. It put me in an impossible position. He reached across the table to squeeze my hand. I'm sorry, Kristen. I should have been more direct. It's not your fault, I said, though part of me wished he had told me earlier before I had given away so much of my life. There's more, Larry continued reluctantly. Last month, when I was helping your dad with some yard work, I overheard your parents discussing whether they should ask you to increase your contribution to help with a timeshare they want to buy in Florida. A timeshare? Are you serious? I confronted them about it, told them it was shameful to even consider asking you for more when they haven't been honest about their situation. Your mother got defensive, said they deserved nice things after all they've been through. Your father accused me of being jealous of their financial planning. That's what he called it, Kristen. Financial planning. I felt physically ill. 7 years of sacrifices, of putting my life on hold, reduced to financial planning for my parents' luxury purchases? Do they ever talk about paying me back? I asked, already knowing the answer. Larry shook his head. I've never heard them mention it. I think in their minds this is just what daughters do for their parents. They convince themselves they're entitled to your support. I spent the next hour asking questions with Larry, filling in the gaps of my family's deception. How they had started small, with genuine need, but continued the charade long after necessity had passed. How they justified it by occasionally buying me small gifts for Christmas or my birthday, as is a $50 sweater made up for thousands in monthly support. How they had begun to resent my questions about their job searches or budget, seeing it as intrusion rather than reasonable concern. By the time we finished our lunch, untouched on my part, I had a clearer picture of my family's betrayal. What are you going to do? Larry asked as we stood in the parking lot. I don't know yet, but something has to change. This can't continue. He hugged me tightly. Whatever you decide, I'm on your side. Remember that. I drove home in a daze, 7 years of memories replaying in my mind with new context. The grateful tears that seemed so genuine, the emergencies that always aligned with vacation seasons or major sales, the increasing distance whenever I asked specific questions, weapons, finances. I had been played by the people I trusted most in the world, and I had never seen it coming. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my living room floor surrounded by bank statements, calculating exactly how much money I had given my family. The final figure made me physically ill. $123,740. Money that could have bought me a house, funded a comfortable retirement, or allowed me to travel the world. I cried until there were no tears left, then sat in numb silence, watching the sunrise through my apartment window. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, respect, and love. My family had demonstrated none of these toward me. By morning, I knew I needed professional help to process this revelation. I called in sick to work for the first time in years and scheduled an emergency appointment with a therapist I had seen briefly after a difficult breakup. Dr. Patricia Wilson remembered me and made time in her schedule that afternoon. In her calm, sunlit office, I poured out the whole story from the first desperate call for rent money to Uncle Larry's revelations. "What you're describing is financial abuse," Dr. Wilson said gently when I finished. "It's particularly painful because it came from family, the people we expect to protect us, not exploit us." "I feel so stupid," I whispered. "How did I not see it?" "Because you were operating from love and trust, which is natural with family. They took advantage of your good heart, not your intelligence." She leaned forward. "The question now is, what boundaries do you need to set going forward?" Boundaries. The word felt foreign when applied to family. I had never considered that I needed protection from the people who raised me. "I can't keep giving them money," I said, the decision crystallizing as I spoke. "Not when they've been lying to me."
Haley was worried about having to drop out of school without your support, he said, despite the fact that she just bought that new car. Each word felt like a physical blow. They weren't even considering my proposal anymore. They were strategizing how to manipulate me into continuing the payments. When I told them they should be ashamed of themselves, that you had every right to stop supporting grown adults who had lied to you for years, they got angry. Really angry. His voice cracked slightly. "I packed up some of my things and left. I can't stay in that house knowing how they're treating you." Uncle Larry had been living with my parents since his divorce, 5 years earlier, helping with household maintenance in exchange for reduced rent. The fact that he was willing to leave over this spoke volumes. "Where will you go?" I asked, concerned for him now. "I have a buddy with a spare room. I'll be fine. I'm more worried about you and what they might do next." We didn't have to wait long to find out. The group text arrived at 9:37 that night, just as I was getting ready for bed. It was from my mother's number, but the message was clearly crafted by committee. "After discussing your email as a family, we have decided we need space from you. Your accusations and ultimatums have deeply hurt us after all we have done for you. Please do not reach out anymore at all. We will contact you when we are ready to move forward." I stared at the phone, reading and rereading the cold dismissal. No acknowledgement of their deception, no gratitude for 7 years of financial support, no recognition of the sacrifices I had made. Just a command to disappear until they decided I was worthy of their attention again. The injustice of it burned through my shock. They had taken over $100,000 from me under false pretenses, and now they were acting as if I had wronged them by discovering their lies. My hands shook as I checked social media, only to discover they had already blocked me on Facebook, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. A clean digital excision from their lives. I called Uncle Larry, who answered on the first ring. "They sent a group text," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "They want space from me. They've blocked me on all social media." "Those ungrateful, manipulative—" He didn't finish the sentence, taking a deep breath instead. "I'm so sorry, Kristen. I knew they might react poorly, but this is beyond what I expected. This is who they've become, and it has nothing to do with you. You deserve so much better." "What do I do now?" I asked, feeling unmoored. "Now you live your life," Larry said firmly. Their reaction just confirmed everything we suspected. They only valued you for what you could give them. That's their shame, not yours. After we hung up, I sat motionless on my couch, trying to process the finality of the text message. My family had chosen money over relationship. They had cut me off for having the audacity to stop financing their lifestyle. The people who should have loved me unconditionally had placed a very specific condition on their love: continued financial support. A strange calm settled over me as the reality sunk in. In their attempt to punish me, they had actually clarified exactly where I stood with them. There was no more ambiguity, no more benefit of the doubt to extend. They had shown me who they truly were. With that clarity came determination. I picked up my phone and typed a brief response to the group text. Of course. "I will cancel my direct deposits first thing tomorrow." Then I called my bank's 24-hour customer service line. The representative was helpful and efficient, canceling all automatic transfers to my family members' accounts. She asked if I wanted to block future transfers to those account numbers, and after a moment's hesitation,
I said yes. "Is there anything else I can help you with tonight?" she asked cheerfully. "No, that's everything. Thank you." As I spoke the words, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. 7 years of financial obligation ended with a single phone call. I slept surprisingly well that night, as if a weight had been physically lifted from my body. In the morning, I transferred the money that would have gone to my family into my own savings account, marveling at how it instantly increased my financial security. At work, I focused on my projects with renewed energy. My colleague Jordan noticed the difference, commenting that I seemed lighter somehow. I simply smiled and said I had resolved a long-standing personal issue. That evening, I allowed myself to browse real estate listings more seriously, contacting an agent about viewing a modestly priced condo in a neighborhood I had long admired. For the first time, home ownership seemed like a realistic possibility rather than a distant dream. Just before midnight, my phone exploded with notifications. First came the missed calls, 6 from my mother, 4 from my father, 3 from Haley. Then the voicemails, each more urgent than the last. "Kristen, call me back immediately. There has been a misunderstanding." My mother's voice, tense and controlled. "Honey, we need to talk. This has gone too far." My father, trying to sound reasonable. "What did you do? Mom and Dad are freaking out." Haley, accusatory and panicked. Then came the text messages. "Mom, the bank says the transfer failed. Call me ASAP." "Dad, there must be an error with the automatic payment. We have bills due tomorrow." Haley, "This is not funny, Kristen. Mom is crying." I turned off notifications and placed my phone face down on the nightstand. Their emergency was not my emergency anymore. Tomorrow would be soon enough to deal with the fallout. Uncle Larry called early the next morning. "Your parents have been blowing up my phone," he said, without preamble. "They have been scrambling to figure out why your money didn't come through." "Did you tell them why?" I asked. "I told them they should read the reply to your text message more carefully. Elaine actually said, and I quote, 'She would never actually stop the payments. She knows we need that money. The delusion is strong with them.' Despite everything, I felt a twinge of guilt. Maybe I should have given them more warning before stopping the payments completely." "Kristen," Larry's voice was gentle but firm, "they told you not to contact them anymore. They blocked you on social media. They rejected your very generous 6-month transition plan. What exactly were you supposed to do?" He was right. Of course. I had tried to be fair. They had chosen this abrupt ending, not me. Throughout the day, the calls and messages continued. By evening, the tone had shifted from confusion to anger to desperate negotiation. "We can work this out, honey. Just turn the payments back on while we talk things through," read a text from my father. "I don't understand why you're punishing us like this. We're your family," wrote my mother. "I might have to drop out of nursing school. Is that what you want?" Haley's message, a transparent attempt at guilt manipulation. I did not respond to any of them. Uncle Larry kept me updated on their reactions, reporting that they were now blaming him for poisoning me against them and had asked him to move out completely. "I'll be gone by the weekend," he told me. "My buddy Jack is letting me stay with him until I find my own place." "I'm so sorry you're caught in the middle of this," I said. "Don't apologize. This has been a long time coming. I'm just sorry I didn't speak up sooner." 3 days after I canceled the direct deposits, I arrived home from work to find Haley sitting on the floor outside my apartment door, a gift bag beside her. She jumped up when she saw me. "Finally, I've been waiting for hours," she said, as if I was late for an appointment I never made. "What are you doing here, Haley?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral as I unlocked my door. "We need to talk," she said, following me inside without waiting for an invitation. "This whole situation has gotten out of hand. Mom and Dad are a mess. You're not answering our calls or texts." I set down my work bag and turned to face her. "You all asked for space. I'm respecting that request." "That was just Mom being dramatic. You know how she gets. We didn't mean for you to cut us off financially." She thrust the gift bag toward me. "Here, I brought you something." Inside was an expensive scented candle, the same brand I had once mentioned liking, but never bought for myself because of the cost. The irony was not lost on me. "Thank you for the candle," I said, setting it aside. "But it doesn't change anything, Haley. I know about Dad's job. I know about Mom's part-time work at the church. I know about your designer purse and new car. I know you have all been lying to me for years." Her expression shifted from false cheerfulness to defensive anger. "So what? Parents are supposed to help their children. Children are supposed to help their parents. That's how family works." "Help, yes. But this wasn't help, Haley. This was exploitation. You all took advantage of my love and trust. You lied to me repeatedly to keep the money flowing. That's not family. That's fraud." "That is such an ugly word," she said, flinching. "We never forced you to give us money. You offered." "I offered based on information you knew was false. You let me believe Dad was unemployed for 7 years. You let me believe we were in constant financial crisis. Meanwhile, you were taking vacations and buying luxury items with my hard-earned money." Haley's eyes filled with tears, but I had seen this performance before. "What do you want from us? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. We all are. Can we move past this now?" "An apology would be a start," I said, "but not if it's just a tactic to get the money flowing again. I need to see real change, real honesty, and a real plan to pay back at least some of what you've taken under false pretenses." Her expression hardened. "So that's it. You're holding your own family financial hostage until we meet your demands?" The accusation was so backward, so completely inverted from reality, that I almost laughed. "No, Haley."
Her apology seemed sincere, and I felt a small crack in my protective armor. "Thank you for that, Haley." My father, perhaps sensing a shift in the emotional temperature, leaned forward eagerly. "So where do we go from here?" "We want to move past this, Kristen. We want our family back together." "That depends," I said carefully. "Are you asking for our relationship to be restored, or are you asking for the money to start flowing again?" "Both, obviously," my mother said, then quickly backtracked at my expression. "I mean primarily the relationship, of course, but we have built our budget around your contribution, and cutting it off so abruptly has created real hardship." Uncle Larry, who had been silently observing, made a sound that was somewhere between a cough and a derisive laugh. "Elaine, do you hear yourself?" he asked. "You are still framing this as Kristen's responsibility. You are not entitled to her money. You never were. The fact that you built your budget around an income source you obtained through deception is your problem to solve, not hers." My father's face reddened. "Easy for you to say, Larry. You have always had the luxury of only worrying about yourself." "That is enough," I said firmly. "Uncle Larry is here as my support person, not to be attacked. If you cannot have this conversation respectfully, then we are done here." My parents exchanged glances again, and my mother reached for my hand across the cable. I allowed the contact, though it felt strange after weeks of emotional distance. "We want to make this right," she said softly. "Tell us what you need from us." It was the question I had been waiting for, the one I had prepared for with Dr. Wilson's help. "I need complete honesty from this point forward," I began. "No more secrets, no more convenient omissions, no more manipulation. I need acknowledgement of the full extent of the deception over the past years, not just vague apologies for miscommunication. I need you to take responsibility for your own financial situation without expecting me to subsidize your lifestyle." I took a deep breath before continuing. "And I need some form of repayment plan for at least a portion of the money that was taken under false pretenses. Not all of it, but enough to demonstrate that you understand the magnitude of what happened and are committed to making amends." My father started to object, but my mother squeezed his arm in warning. "Those terms are fair," she said, though the words seemed difficult for her. "We can work out a repayment plan, something manageable with our current income." "And what about our relationship going forward?" my father asked. "Will you be part of the family again?" It was the question that had troubled me most in the weeks of separation.
What did family mean now, after everything that had happened? We can begin rebuilding our relationship, I said carefully, slowly, with appropriate boundaries, no more financial entanglement, no more guilt trips, no more manipulation. We start with occasional, brief contacts and see how it goes. It was not the immediate, complete reconciliation they had hoped for, but it was all I could honestly offer. To my surprise, they accepted these terms without further argument, perhaps finally understanding how close they had come to losing me permanently. As we finished our meals and prepared to leave, Haley asked hesitantly, "Can I hug you goodbye?" I nodded, and her embrace was tight, desperate, reminiscent of the sister I had known before. Money complicated everything. For a moment, I allowed myself to hope that something genuine might be salvaged from the wreckage of our family relationships. Only time would tell.